Good morning. Thank you, Carrie. Good morning, everybody. Nice to have you all here today. Stephanie Sinner, as Carrie announced, and Executive Director at the Soybean Council. Going to take a few minutes this morning to just kind of walk through who the Soybean Council is, what we do, what our role is, and why funding you all is critical to all of the soybean farmers across the state, and why that partnership is what makes this a successful story for North Dakota agriculture and our farmers and our communities. There are exciting things happening in our industry right now, which is really fun to be a part of and exciting to see. As Dr. Horsley said, 30 years ago, it was a very different landscape across this state, and what will it be in the next 30 years, and how you all will help play a part in making that direction. We have a few of our team coming and going today. Kendall will be here later this morning. I want to shout out to Shireen Alamati. She's standing in the back, and you'll see her taking photos and posting. She's our outreach and education coordinator. Kendall Nichols, who many of you know, Director of Research Programs, is retiring at the end of March. So he's busy doing all sorts of things as he gets ready to wrap up. But he was our first ever Director of Research Programs at the Soybean Council. So he has really brought our research program to what it is today. And we're excited to hand that off to our next employee, who will come on and is under Kendall's great tutelage all month. Miki Miaguli is in the back, and she's our new research programs coordinator on staff with us now. Also, we have Rob Rose. He's back here. He's our treasurer on the board. Rob farms in Wimbledon, North Dakota. So you've got a farmer in the room to ask your tough questions to. Rob is also the chair of our research committee. So maybe many of you have seen him if you've been in to the committee in the last couple of years. So thanks for coming in and being with us today, Rob. A couple of things we always talk about. There are two organizations across the state that work on behalf of the soybean farmers, and every crop has two organizations. So if you're confused, you're not alone. It's just the way we're structured here. But we're very important two prongs for the soybean farmer. Our sister organization, North Dakota Soybean Growers Association, is the policy and advocacy team. They have a board, farmer-led board, similar to ours, but we are two separate boards and staffs. But their job is advocating for North Dakota soybean farmers in Bismarck and in Washington, D.C. And they work in everything from laws that change and impact land ownership and how you can farm, to pesticide regulation, working with the EPA, water quality, nutrient management, all sorts of things. So the other wheel on this bus is the Soybean Checkoff Board, and that's the North Dakota Soybean Council. And we do everything except policy and advocacy work. This is the board currently for the Soybean Council. So we have 12 directors across the state. Each district is equally set up to represent soybean farmers equitably across the state. And that, as we've seen our acres change, we were an 8-member board back in 2011, and we expanded to 12 members because of the expansion of soybean producers and growers in the state. So board of 12, we have a team of 7 at the office who work at the direction of the board and implement all the events and programming, such as what we have going on here today. Each board member is elected by their peers. So it is a board elected, soybean farmers elected by soybean farmers. Just wanted to set the stage and touch on what our vision is, and our vision stretches across both organizations that I mentioned earlier. It is growing a legacy of successful farmers. Specific to the council, innovating to expand partnerships, markets, and opportunities for the success of North Dakota soybean growers. The partnerships that Carrie mentioned earlier and Rich mentioned as well, that's really key to what today is all about, and the collaboration and communication between farmers, our board members, researchers, and all the support teams that come in between all of those folks that make it all possible. Really quickly, the first rule of checkoffs, I think there are 14 of us in North Dakota. No two checkoffs are the same. So we're all different, but for soybean, it is strictly for investing farmer dollars into research, promotion, communication, education. Also market development is in there too. So again, anything except policy and advocacy work in the political realm. It is collected quarterly. It is 0.5% of the market price of each bushel of soybeans at the first point of sale. All of that money comes to our office. 50% of it stays here in North Dakota, and that board of directors invests how that is invested in the various programs, and 50% is sent to the United Soybean Board, which is our national board. We do have USDA oversight because we're a federal we're a federal checkoff. So we are under compliance and regulation of USDA as well. But it has made it a very impactful checkoff. This is just a quick look at how our budget is broken up over the last fiscal year. And you'll see research is 33% of our budget. So it is a significant piece of what the board deems as critical to be funding and investing in. A quick look again, I wanted to put this up because many of you may know the United Soybean Board. That is our national board, and they also are charged with the same tasks of research, promotion, communication, and education. So 50% of the funds collected here go to them from each state. So they're a large board, they are 77 members. But they have funded a lot of North Dakota researchers over the years, and a lot of our programs have expanded nationally because we're able to connect you all with the United Soybean Board. North Dakota has 4 growers, 4 farmers that are nominated to serve on this board, and they are appointed by the Secretary of Agriculture. So we have 4 seats on this board, which is the most you can have. The American Soybean Association is the national board for that policy and advocacy arm. And then in the middle, some of you may be familiar with USEC, that is the US Soybean Export Council. And they really are our boots on the ground across the globe, helping promote US soy to all those various markets in different continents and countries, making sure that there is demand for the product that's coming out of the US. Soybean research, what we're all here to talk about today. As I said, this makes about 33% of our budget each year, so it's really critical to the farmers. We reach out to farmers, we reach out to the RECs across the state, we reach out to key stakeholders and get input on what priorities our research should focus on each year. This includes increasing yields, pest management, soybean quality, new uses, and then protection of natural resources. So that's something the board revisits each year to make sure that what we're investing in is what is meeting the challenges and needs on the farms currently. We try our best to get that research out across multiple platforms so that folks have access to it. The research sitting on a shelf doesn't do anybody any good. And so that's what we are tasked with, is making sure it gets into the hands of the farmers so they can actually apply your findings and improve what's going on their operations. You have our annual research report. We featured Dr. Miranda on this. But this is a short publication, a short summary of every research project that's funded each year. So it's a good resource for the farmers. In addition, we are partners with SRIN, the Soybean Research and Information Network, and that is a farmer-facing platform where they can go and search by topic, search by issue, and find the research and the findings and the tools there to apply and make an impact. Again, these are platforms. We also do a lot of videos and pushing things out on social media, trying to reach farmers wherever they are looking for research solutions and information. And then another goal is what was touched on earlier, is that cross collaboration between you all and in your departments and what you do to make sure that we are churning out the best research possible, meeting the needs today, but avoiding replication or duplication. And so there is the National Soybean Research Database. Some of you may be familiar with that. Kendall has integrated it into our reporting system, but that is a place for researchers to go and look and find out who else in your field is maybe doing something similar, or where there may be opportunities for collaboration. So 2 sides to this national database, trying to cross-pollinate, if I can do that, and since we don't do that in soybeans, but cross-pollinate that information and get leverage the experts in all these areas. What do we do with all our soybeans here? We grow a lot of soybeans, and at the end, I'm going to touch on how the 2021 crop looked. But North Dakota has ranked consistently #4 in planted acres in the entire US. When you get down to yield, it's a different story, as many of you know. That puts us at #9. However, for a state that in the early 80s had very few acres of soybeans, to be #4 in planted acres is a pretty tremendous success story. We still have folks we're trying to convince in Illinois and Iowa that we produce that many soybeans, but we're working on it. So we have been a whole bean exporter for many years. Our gig came from the Chinese buying that really started and came out of just world demand for soybeans. Everything in North Dakota is set up to move massive amounts of whole soybeans out the Pacific Northwest and into those Asian markets. The red dots are shuttle facilities. Those are elevators across North Dakota that have been invested in with farmer dollars, with local community dollars to build out facilities that ship 110 plus cars of one time at a time of one commodity. So that's moving corn, that's moving soybeans, that's bulk shipments. It is highly, highly efficient. You can see the rail on the map as well, how things are moving, and it just all naturally goes out towards the PNW. So as the infographic says, it's about 4 to 5 days from an elevator in North Dakota to the port facilities out at the Pacific Northwest. This tends to be in the Kalama or Longview, Washington region. From there, they're inspected again, made sure there's no pest or disease issues in what's going out. And then once they meet spec for the contract, they're loaded on a ship and they head overseas. 16 to 18 days to get to some of our most major global ports over in Asia. By comparison, other soybeans that are shipped out of the Gulf area that go down the Mississippi River into the Gulf of Mexico, same system almost. There's barges. There's a lot more handling of the soybeans. They're moved south. That is almost a 30-day transit time. So we have a huge advantage in shipping. And that is probably what puts North Dakota as a leader in providing the world soybeans. So it's a very efficient system. And it's been a huge investment by all our partners, but it is what really has put, I think, North Dakota, not only our quality of soybeans and our consistent supply, but our efficient delivery of the product. But there's big changes coming, exciting changes coming. 2 new crush facilities coming online in North Dakota. There's the ADM Spiritwood facility, which is out near Jamestown, and then the North Dakota Soy Processors facility at Castleton, North Dakota. I threw up some statistics there so you can see that this is gonna take a lot of North Dakota soybean bushels. So we produce between 180 to 200 million bushels of soybean each year. So this is gonna put a dent in our whole bean exports, and we're okay with that. This is gonna create some good competition. It's gonna create some new marketing channels for our farmers. With any sort of disruption, right, and change is always that learning curve of how it adapts, how it's going to impact each farmer and each operation individually. But we're excited to have this happening. The ADM crush facility is currently under construction. If you've been by Jamestown or Spiritwood, you can see the demolition going on out there. And so they are well underway. They anticipate receiving soybeans there fall of 2023. The crush facility at Castleton is still in the process of their permitting and all the fun paperwork that comes with putting something like this in place. So they're a ways out yet, but things are moving along. What is driving this? The massive production of soybean in the state. I think North Dakota has been on the radar screen for crush facilities for quite a while now, but the real rocket boost has been the demand from the West Coast for renewable fuels, and soybean oil plays a huge part of that. So the ADM facility, it's a question we get a lot. What are they going to do with the soybean oil? It is all going to the Marathon refinery out at Dickinson, North Dakota, where it'll be turned into renewable diesel. And that is all being shipped out to the West Coast to meet the low carbon fuel standards that are in place up and down the West Coast states. So you think California, Oregon, Washington, demanding those renewable fuels for what they're doing. So a big boom, an exciting boom, and it means that North Dakota soybean farmers are a piece of helping all those entities meet those emission goals that they have, and being a part of what's going on. As a result, though, our world used to be about finding uses for soybean oil, and it has taken a very quick turn to finding soybean uses for meal. So your challenge, should you choose to accept it? No. I just want to put this up here. Soybean meal, livestock is the #1 customer of US soy. The majority of US soybean meal is used in creating livestock feed around the world. And so this is a look, and yes, it's a giant chicken because chickens eat a lot of soybean meal. And just to put in perspective the scale of where soybean meal is used in livestock production. For example, another question we get a lot, the ADM plant out at Spiritwood is projected to produce 1.2 million tons. And I apologize, this is a slide used internationally, so it's in metric tons, and I will not do the conversion from the podium.
I had to do mine.
Yeah. So ADM is going to projected to produce 1.2 million tons of soybean meal per year. That is enough to feed 9 million hogs. At the last check in 2021, North Dakota had 148,000 head of hogs. So exciting news, we have room for growth. But this is a big shift for us. And for the first time, meal is becoming really, oil is leading the soy complex. And that's what's moving this. So we're excited to do increases. We have, just getting soybean meal inclusion rates up to 1 to 2% in feed livestock diets around the world will really chew through a lot of the US soybean meal surplus that we're going to have. There are markets that have room to expand that and grow. And there are also frontier markets, right, that are that are currently importing small amounts of soybean meal or importing meal, whole beans, and doing crush. And so there's definitely room for growth out there. And that is part of the reason that ADM has chosen North Dakota, because they see that global demand that's coming. Also, for perspective, this is a slide that my colleague Nancy Johnson had put together, and just to look at what the livestock crop mix is here in North Dakota. So 85% of ag cash receipts in North Dakota is from crops. So again, we're heavy on that crop side, but the silver lining of that is there's room to grow in our livestock sector. So hopefully by having a feed ingredient produced locally here in North Dakota, we will see some of those livestock developers start to move in with that poultry and swine options, and we may see some development there. New uses and innovations in soy has been a really exciting place in the last few years. As we see this shift in where soybean oil is going into the renewable fuels market, the soybean oil price right now is extremely high. So for manufacturers to be using it in their production of whether it's food or fuel or products like you see here on the screen, we may see that slow a bit. We have already heard some folks that are saying, we maybe need to look for some other options, but I think there will always be a place for soybean oil in these products, and we continue to see research and development happen in this area. It still continues to be an area of exploration and research that needs to have attention put to it. Some examples, face cleansers, the BioBlend product in the bottom there of the screen was developed here at NDSU by Dr. Jim Barr, if you're familiar with him. It's a soy-based dust suppressant, finding many other uses that have spun off of that. So that's exciting to see. Skechers does a tennis shoe and footwear for both men and women that is made with soybean oil. And we're big fans of their shoes. We have them at the office. The Goodyear tires have come out as well, and that's a pretty spectacular line. They're finding really improved Vastly improved traction in wet weather and faster drying paints have been developed. And I know some of you are maybe involved in that. Pore Shield is a concrete protector that's getting a lot of use on roads and bridges. So as we hear a lot about aging infrastructure and trying to do some infrastructure replacement and improvements across the US, we really hope we're going to see soy play a big role in that. And in the middle there is just kind of your traditional soybean oil uses, but I think soy foods are so much more than tofu and tempeh. That we use it in so many things that we all consume every day. And so that continues to be a strong demand sector for us. The United Soybean Board has a new vision that we really like, and it's partnering to deliver sustainable soy solutions to every life, every day. And I think that's a really good summary of what soybean does and how diverse it is and how it can do so many different things and has so many applicabilities. I would say too that while the new uses and the innovative products are really exciting and a good place to be, and we are looking for continued development in that area, our board really does understand the balance to be had between that agronomic research and making sure that we're getting the best crop produced here in the state so that we have the best products to supply to all of these industry sectors. So it really starts right here with our soil in North Dakota, our farmers, our producers, and all of you that back them up and provide them with resources and tools to do that. Again, I promised I would close. I promised I would close, and I promised I'd close with crop statistics. So just to look at this, 7.25 million acres of soybeans planted in the state in 2021, our largest crop ever. You can see what we harvested, and then you can see our yield. It was a tough year out there. The drought impacted every crop in this state. Over on this side of the state, we got some of those last rains. There were pockets of rain across the state that saved some crops. And I wanted to say that goes to the research of the breeding programs here, because years ago we had soybean varieties that would not have survived a drought like this. And so the research and the time and sweat, blood, and tears that you all put into things truly results in good things for the farmers. Still, at 25.5 bushels per acre, we are a $2 billion crop value to this state. And that is something that we try, our sister organizations tries to drive home to the decision makers in this state, that the farmers matter, the research that's conducted here matters. 3 of North Dakota counties are in the top 10 soybean producing counties in the nation. Cass County, for those of you who know, used to be #1 soybean producing county in the US for many, many years. And I always said that was because Iowa made the mistake of making tiny counties. But you can see some pretty tremendous acreage numbers there for Cass, Stutzman, and Barnes. So, Rob, county #3 right there. Yeah. Our top export markets, you can see there, I think people are always a little bit surprised to find out that China is still our #1 destination. It even surprised me typing these numbers in here the other day, making the slides. It's 98% of our soybeans still go there. So they are still the biggest buyer in the world. Other markets are expanding, but it takes a lot to make that happen. And as I said, #4 in total acres planted and #10 in overall production. So we truly value our partnership with all of you, our partnership with the university. The farmers are greatly honored to be able to work alongside all of you and be a part of your day today. So thank you for all you do. I hope you have a fantastic event. I'll be popping in and out throughout the day, but our team will be here throughout the day. So hopefully if you have any questions, Rob can answer all your farming questions, but happy to take any questions, but thanks for having me, and we're excited to be a part of the day. So that's it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.